Hey everyone, welcome to Office Hours here on YouTube's Work It Daily channel. It's JT and I'm with you for the next 30 minutes answering all of your questions related to job search, career development, you name it. We're going to talk about it. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll let you know. Before I get started, just a couple reminders. If you have a question today, I can try to answer it for you. There's no guarantees. We get so many questions here, but your chances of getting them answered are greatly increased if you follow the instructions. So let me tell you what those are. First of all, you want to put the word question in all caps first, just the word question. That notifies me that you have a question. And then you want to write out your question after that. Again, please remember, I can't answer all of them and the chat goes really fast, so you may want to post your question, more than once down the line so that I can catch it. All right? And then the last thing I just want to remind you, no snarkiness. We're not fans of snark here. I'm certainly not going to answer any snarky questions. That's how we roll. But that's it. Pretty simple rules. Before I get started with our questions, I want to address one that's been going on inside Work It Daily. So for those of you that don't know, we are a career coaching platform. We're a private membership site where you go in and you get access to all of our coaching materials on job search, career development. But more importantly, you're part of a private community, a Slack community with various channels where you can go in and discuss the different challenges that you're having and solicit feedback from your peers, but also from your coaches. And this week we've had a really powerful dialogue going in there. In fact, all my existing members, if you haven't jumped in the general channel, I want you to check it out because there's an incredible thread in the general channel around workplace bullying. What is it and how to deal with it? And so I wanted to take a minute to address some of the things that this person is experiencing. We obviously keep it anonymous, but this person was put into a role after a manager left, so put into a management or position, and the individuals who this person was once peers with now report to this person, and they are really struggling with people being gossipy, backstabbing, talking against them, going around them to higher management, ostracizing them, saying terrible things. And what do you do? What do you do in a situation where you're put into a leadership position that you didn't necessarily ask for, but maybe you're thinking this is a great chance to rise to the occasion, and you're met with this kind of, bitterness and bullying, right? This level of peer bullying. So the first thing that I want to talk about with all of you is that I'm sure, chime in, maybe you've experienced this in your past. If you've ever worked with somebody who it feels like they're out to get you. It feels like they're negative towards you. It can really affect you mentally. It affects your career confidence. It affects your ability to do your job. And people say, why? Why do they get to me? Why is it such a problem? Well, I'm going to bring it back to something that I've been teaching a lot lately. I'm going to pull out my trusty bowl of rocks here. Because the truth is that once you decide that somebody is bullying you, once you decide that you are going to allow the comments of people that you work with to affect you, you've essentially started creating rocks in your head. And it's every time they say something, you interpret it as them literally winding up and throwing this rock right at you. And so it hurts. And even worse, imagine yourself, it's not like you're Teflon and the rock bounces off. You are literally catching the rock. You're like a softer substance. You're catching the rock and holding on to it. So think about what happens with every additional rock that they throw, every comment that they make, every time they ignore you, every glance they send your way. You are just getting pelted and feeling the full pain and the effect of being hit. And then instead of dropping it, you're hanging on to it, so you're feeling the weight of it. So I wanted everybody to see that visualization because this poor person is walking around. I can just grab so many of these. And every single day is getting pelted with more. Can people visualize that? Can you all see and feel and imagine what that feels like? And for those of you that have ever been bullied, can you identify with that? That is what's happening. So there are things that you can do to stop this. I want you to think about it. First of all, you're thinking, how do I stop the rocks from being thrown at me? And second of all, when they do get thrown at me, how do I stop holding on to them? What do I do about that? So being in HR for many years before I switched over and became a career coach, I know how this works. I had people come to me And HR will sit down with you and you'll share what's happening. And they can go and try to make amends for you, right? They can go and say to the individuals, the offending individuals that are throwing the rocks, you need to stop. You need to stop what you're doing. But short of firing them, which is really the only way the rocks are going to stop being thrown, right? If they're not going to fire them, then even if HR goes and talks, is it really going to stop? And that all comes down to who? I'm going to ask you right now this challenge. I want you to think about it. Because unless this person gets removed, so if you have stuff that is truly against policy in the company and in the policy handbook that the person could be fired for, then you're going to take that evidence and prove it and go, and this person's going to be fired or removed. But in many, many bullying cases, there isn't enough evidence to have them fired and removed. So I ask you all this powerful question. What's going to happen? Are the rocks going to stop? And how do you stop the rocks if the person isn't removed from the situation? Think about that for a second. I kind of gave away the answer early on, didn't I? I gave the answer away. The answer lies in yourself. Like it or not, the only real solution you can control in a bullying situation is your reaction to it, is your response to it. And the response that you have to have is to not let it in, is to not allow yourself to catch it. And so one of the techniques that I've taught people in the past is a very simple phrase. The moment somebody says something to you, the moment somebody looks at you funny, anytime one of those bullying type occurrences happens, you say to yourself, I will not let that in. I choose not to accept that. I am not catching that rock today. I will not let that in. Does that make sense to everyone? Now, why do I want you to say it? Because scientific studies show that when you say it, it's like someone else is telling you and you listen to it. You listen to the advice. You're able to physically put up that wall and visualize, I will not let that in. I'm choosing to not let that in today. I will not catch that rock. That rock is like Teflon. What did I say? I am Teflon. I'm watching that rock fall. I will not let that in. Because it really does come down to our own power. And I know for a lot of you out there right now, they're saying, JT, that can't be the case. It just can't be me. Please don't make it me, JT. Don't make this about me. They're the bully. They're the bad person. They're the mean person. Well, I never said that they weren't. I'm not saying that they're not a bad person. I am saying that we as human beings, and there's a lot of science to back this up, have complete control how we interpret every single experience in our life, every single one. Your story is your story. I could put somebody right next to you and they might go, that doesn't seem like bullying to me. Yeah, the person's being a jerk, but I don't feel bullied. And you're saying, but I am being bullied. In your mind you are. In the way that you're interpreting the story that you are. And I'm not saying what they're doing is okay or good or that you're wrong. I never said that. What I'm saying is that you do have the power to say, I will not let that in. And when you do that, when you are able to really build that up, now you take back the control. Because what's happening is you're allowing that bully to control your emotions. You're not in charge, they're in charge. Do you want that? That's exactly what they want to do. It's why they're doing it. You don't want that. You need to take the control back. And you start by saying, I'll say it again and again, I will not let that in. And you say it out loud. You can just say it. Go to your desk and say, I will not let that in. It's not letting that in today. I'm not catching that rock. And you can go and get a pile of rocks like I have. And I would even keep track. You can start with a bowl on your desk and an empty bowl on the other side. And every time it comes at you and you say, I will not let that in. I'm not catching that rock today. You get to move one rock to the other side. And as you work through that exercise and you suddenly see yourself not letting it in, you're going to train yourself not to react and not to respond. Now, I'm not saying you don't go to HR. I'm not saying you don't go on the record. I'm not saying you don't document everything you do. These are the normal practices of bullying. You document every bullying action. you go on the record, you notify the authorities, HR, you do all of that. What I'm telling you though is that in my many, many years experience, the only thing that truly fixes a situation is when we take control of how we feel and how we react to it. And you have to get to a place where you say, I will not let that in. You can put your hand up, but say it out loud. I will not let that in. I am not catching that rock. And as I said, do whatever it takes to get yourself to understand it. Okay, folks? So I hope that helped today. It's probably some non-traditional advice around bullying. Most people have never heard that advice before, but it's something that I've used over many years, and I know that it works. And I know when people build up the skills to control that, their entire world changes, which means their opportunities change. And that's what I'm worried about for you. That's what I want for all of you, the ability to control your destiny. And it starts with controlling what you let in and what you catch. Okay. So the second thing I want to hit on was another question that we got in advance, and I really want to address this one because I've been seeing a lot lately. I wrote an article this week called The Psychological Impact of Job Search. If you didn't see it, it was on Inc. magazine. Because in 2019, we continue to have an extremely low unemployment rate, and we have a very high level of depression around job search. And it's because people, if you read this article, are misassuming that it should be easier. Well, companies are saying they don't have talent. Why isn't everybody knocking down my door? And so people get really depressed. They say, well, something must be wrong with me. If it's not easy for me to get a job in this economy, then it'll never be easy for me. Actually, it's harder in this economy to get a job, folks. First of all, more people are looking than ever before. People look for jobs in good economies because they feel like it's safe to switch jobs. It's a total frenzy out there. A lot of noise, which makes it even harder for you to stand out with recruiters. So as a result, I've had people coming to me saying, I'm desperate. Should I hire a headhunter? Should I pay somebody to help me find a job? And I really need to go on record here and say, no, you should not pay someone. Anyone that says, I'm going to help you, meet companies. I'm going to help you, make those introductions and get you a job. They have no guarantee to do that. It's not something that they can prove. It's very different from getting career coaching and help and empowering yourself to learn how to do it. That's what we're about. That's what our company does, because we know that we need to teach you how to fish. We need to teach you how to develop your career, how to look for work so that you can do it for yourself. Anytime you decide you're going to spend thousands of dollars, which some people have come to us and said, this headhunting agency said if I pay them all this money, they're going to, get me in front of 10 companies. Folks, it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And there's no guarantees. You read the fine print. They never guarantee that you're going to land a job through their process. So I just want to make everybody aware of that. You're going to start to see the rise of these kind of scams where people say, I guarantee you 10 interviews. I guarantee these companies are hiring. It's not true, and you need to be careful. It's people taking advantage of desperate job seekers. Like I said, right now, psychologically, there are millions and millions of job seekers out there that are saying, what's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with them. Zero's wrong with you. What the challenge is how competitive the job search market is and your techniques. Most people are using the wrong techniques to get hired right now. And that's why you need to learn the right way, the proactive strategy to get hired. Okay? All right, so wanted to hit on those two things. I'm now going to move over here and start taking some questions. Lots of people here today. So glad to have you here. I'm going to jump right into GTO Mama 68. Woo! So is there an efficient way to find out if there are office bullies or toxic environment in the interview? Yes, that's a great question. So one thing you should check out here on our YouTube channel, we have a video. It's the biggest video we've ever done, like 1.4 million views and counting. And it's the 8 questions you should ask in interviews. And I encourage you to look at these questions, because what it does is let you, the job seeker, look under the hood of the car, kick the tires a bit. They are behavioral questions, open-ended questions that you're asking the hiring manager to reveal what their priorities are, what they value in employees. And it helps you understand if somebody's going to be toxic or difficult. And let me give you an example. So one of the questions I'm a big fan of is, tell me about the best hire you made recently, somebody that's new to the organization. What are they doing to knock it out of the park? And so you want to listen, because, if the company tells you, oh, we have work-life balance, and, we really care about our employees here. And then they say, oh my gosh, this person came in and worked 60 hours. They worked weekends and nights because we were behind and they got this project done. See how that doesn't add up? So these questions allow you to test back on these individuals. And so one of the things that you can do is ask about, management style. How would you describe the management style here in the organization? And can you give me an example? And then you'll be able to hear. You'll know the signs of a toxic box in a toxic environment. First of all, you're going to tell that the manager is very dominating and opinionated and very, my way or the highway, and this is what you need to know. You're also going to, as you ask to speak to colleagues and coworkers, how willing your peers, potential peers, are to engage and talk to you is a huge factor. If you go into a workplace and everybody's looking down and nobody wants to meet you, and when you meet with them, they seem very tight-lipped, generally a sign of a toxic or problematic work environment. So there are those signs, and we talk about them inside our program. If you join our job search plan, again, for those of you that don't know, that aren't our existing members that are attending, we have this plan that you join, and it's a step-by-step process you take yourself through of understanding who you are as a professional, what your strengths are, what you then should brand in your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, your interview prep, and then how to create a list of companies that you want to target, and then the process of going through and connecting with those companies. And it becomes so important that you do that because you want to identify these kinds of places and figure out if they're a good fit for you or not. And that's when the interview prep portion of it, we have an entire course related to that, comes into play. So you can do that, you can figure that out, and you really should do that if you want to be able to move forward, okay? Because you want to avoid those toxic environments, and you want to make sure that it's the right place for you. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? I think I saw a question. Let me go back up because I said Jeffrey says, I'm glued to my computer, obsessed with searching for a job. It feels wrong. What else should I be doing? Yes, Jeffrey, it is wrong. Good for you for admitting that being glued to your computer is wrong. I am, how do I say this? I am probably a contrarian. You'll meet a lot of career coaches who say that looking for work is a full-time job. It is not a full-time job. It should not be a full-time job. If you are looking for work full-time, there's something wrong. You're working harder, not smarter. So, Jeffrey, you're on to something here. The key to a successful job search is strategy. It's knowing exactly the kinds of companies you want to work for and how to connect with the people that work there. Over 80% of all jobs are gotten via referral, folks, and that's because hiring somebody is a big, scary thing. It's expensive. Companies don't like to make hiring mistakes. So if they can hire somebody that's come recommended via some human source, they're statistically more likely to hire that person than the stranger. So that's why your network is your net worth. We talk about that all the time here. You've really got to expand your network. But what do you do if you don't know anybody at the companies that you want to work at? Well, that's where a strategic plan comes into play. Because if you know the kinds of companies that you admire and why you admire them, and there's a process that we take you through. I'm sure some people will chime in here. They've been through our interview bucket list course. When you learn how to create an interview bucket list and understand why companies earn a spot on your list, right? Think about those best places to work lists. Well, there's criteria for those companies to win the award, right? Well, you're going to create an award of best places for me to work at, for Jeffrey to work at. And there are some criteria, and you need to identify your connection to these organizations. And it's not what you think. It's not, hey, they've got great benefits or they've got great perks or they're close to my home. It has a lot more to do with the organization and your connection to them, why you feel connected to the work that they do, because that is the most important part. I have been a career therapist for more years than I'm going to admit here, and I will tell you that there's a reason I wrote a book on career satisfaction. If you are not intrinsically motivated, if you are not deeply satisfied by your work, you're going to tire of it and you're going to become unhappy. And so understanding how to connect yourself to a potential employer so that you can feel that satisfaction is numero uno. It is the first thing that you need to do. And that's why you need a bucket list. So Jeffrey, get yourself a bucket list. Get inside our program and learn how to create a bucket list, and let's get a little bit more strategic, because I do not want you glued. Your eyesight's going to go bad. I don't want you glued to the computer all the time. I want you doing other things. All right, great question. Let's see here. I see Darian says, how do you answer the interview question, if you are offered this job, would you consider it a career or a 9-to-5? Well, I mean, I think that's an answer that's individualized, Darian. I think you know what the company is saying. They're saying, do you see this as a place that supports your larger career goals? Or do you see this just as a place to punch the clock? That's what they're asking you. The right answer should be also the truth. So what I would hope that you've done by now is you've looked at this organization and said, okay, this job, the skills that I'm going to gain, the knowledge I'm going to acquire, it's going to help me with my long-term plan of becoming a subject matter expert or an industry expert or the next level of my skills in this area. And therefore, I do see this job as a career move. While it might not be the most exciting job to other people, what it's doing is becoming a really strong foundational building block for my ultimate goal, right? To become an industry expert or a specialist in this area. And I know that I need this job. So to me, it is a career. It is something that's important to me. That's how I would answer it. But truthfully, only if you can make that connection. If you can't, then I think what they're saying is ask yourself, is this a place you're going to be able to see yourself at long term, or is this a stepping stone? And that's really what they're trying to get to the bottom of. And they're going to know if you don't answer that authentically and sincerely, they're going to be able to read it. So again, my answer there is that you've got to get clear on how you believe this connects to your overall career plan and articulate that. When I learn this skill from you, or when I get to this level here with this job, I know I'm going to be even more effective in the industry, even more effective as a specialist. And then they're going to see that you know how to make the connections and turn the job into something career worthy and career related. Okay? So that's what I'd be looking for if I asked you that question. And I have asked that question before. Let's see. Celestine says, is it poor form to cancel panel interviews on the day that it is scheduled with a reputable company because you're accepting an offer elsewhere? Oh my goodness. So, Celestine, I guess my question, first of all, is how did you get this far with this company? Obviously, there was something about them that interested you, but that without going on the panel interview, you've already made the decision to go someplace else. So I'm surprised that you necessarily accepted and are 100% sure that that's the place you want to go. If there's any doubt whatsoever, then I would go on the interview. I would go on the interview because you never know what you might experience in that panel. You might find out something amazing about the company and go, oh my gosh, thank goodness, because now I really want this job. Or you may get there and realize, wow, this really isn't the place for me. I'm so glad I did this thorough panel interview to figure it out. And then the last thing I'm going to tell you is that while I'm not going to say that it's poor form, because if you truly 100%, 200% know that you're going to your dream job and this company has no shot, then you are saving them the aggravation of interviewing you. But, and I'm going to say a but here, we really believe, in fact, for many years, the tagline to our website was because every job is temporary. So even this amazing job that you're deciding to take is a temporary job. You could get there and find out it is the worst. You could get there and a month in, the person that hired you quit and the new person in is terrible. You could get there and find out, I don't know, it's just nothing like you thought it was. Things change. And my question to you is, had you gone on that panel interview, had you networked, had you connected with the organization and said to them, I really, really like you. I think you're an amazing company, but I've been offered another position and I'm going to take it, and I may regret it later, but I'd love to stay in touch with you all because I enjoyed the panel experience and I enjoyed getting to know you all, and you nurtured those relationships over a year, two, whatever. When the time comes, not if, when the time comes that you've got to look for work again, now you've got established connections at that organization. And you're not going to have those same established connections if you don't go on the panel interview, really impress them and connect with them and give yourself the opportunity to stay in touch with them. So that's my advice there. It's not bad form. I'm just wondering if you're being a bit short-sighted or maybe shortchanging yourself in your overall long-term career plans. Okay? All right. Let's see. Whew. There was a question I wonder, Cindy asked a question. Are you really bumping up your efficiency in job searching by attending hiring fairs? No, you're not. Cindy, my answer to job fairs is don't go unless you can be extremely efficient. What do I mean by that? So first of all, you should know what companies are going to the job fair, and you should identify which companies are on your bucket list. Going back to this bucket list exercise, for those of you that don't know what it is, join Work It Daily. We have a whole course on it teaching you how to really identify who you want to work for. That's half the battle. So I would say you're going to look at the job fair list and say, are there any companies on there that are on my bucket list? In which case, then it does make sense to go, because it's a prime opportunity for you to meet face-to-face people that work in the organization and make an impression. And then what you want to do is find those 5 companies and go up to each one and say, I'm really excited to meet you. Your company is on my bucket list. So I really wanted an opportunity to meet you and understand what you think it takes to eventually get hired there. That's all you're looking to do. But it's that ability to walk up with them in confidence and say, you are on my bucket list. I'd love to tell you why. Because that's another thing we teach you in this class, is how to define that and articulate that. And I will tell you that when a person comes up and says, let me explain why you're on my bucket list, and it has nothing to do with the benefits or the perks or that you heard they were a great place to work, and instead it's about how they feel connected to the mission of the company, and they articulate that, that's a wow factor. That's a ding, 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 let's get to know this person better. That's how you differentiate yourself at that job fair. Especially when you say you're on my list, which says I'm selective, I'm doing my homework, and I am so impressed by your company for these reasons. I feel connected to what you do, how you deliver your product, your service, your customers, whatever. That gets them excited about you. We're human beings, right? We need to show our heart. That's what gets us hired. So I would tell you, don't go to a job fair unless you can qualify the companies that are going to be there, narrow in on the companies that make it your bucket list, and can go up and articulate that so that you can say, tell me more. How do I earn a job with you someday? What should I do to set myself up for success? Okay? Excellent. Okay. If you are an older applicant, should you somehow work in being experienced to kind of address the elephant in the room? Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit, because I personally work with a lot of people who believe that they are dealing with age discrimination. And I'm not going to say that age discrimination doesn't exist, because it does. It absolutely does exist. But what I try to make people understand is that age discrimination is an extension of experience discrimination. They associate with the fact that you have a lot of experience, and therefore you're going to be set in your ways, you're going to be opinionated, you're going to be less likely to change, you're going to want to let everybody know that they're doing things wrong, and you're generally going to be difficult to be around, because the rest of us who are younger and who are inexperienced and who are trying to get experienced are constantly going to be reminded that you think that you're better than us. That is what's going on there. Can you all put yourself in the shoes of the younger person and see the reaction they're having? It's a reaction of insecurity. So instead of getting angry about it, when we recognize that it's insecurity, what do? I mean, think about common social situations. When we recognize that somebody is uncomfortable, they're nervous, they're shy, they're feeling insecure, don't we try to make them feel better? And what do? We get them to talk about themselves. We ask them questions that allow them to talk and feel relaxed and feel heard and feel listened to. So my advice to anybody these days over the age of 40, if you're interviewing, is for you to understand that the role you play in the interview has shifted. When you're younger, it is about being eager and showing enthusiasm and saying, hey, here's what I've learned so far in my career, and I'm so excited to learn more, right? You're really showing that open-mindedness, that willing to be resourceful. When you hit over 40, instead what you're trying to do is draw that out of the other side. Because when you sit there and say, I know this, I can do this, I can do that, I've got this, I've got the answer for everything, I'm a jack of all trades, what you're really doing is sending that message, that intimidating message, that you're going to be difficult to work with. And so you've got to flip that around and say, I know I have so much more left to learn. Tell me about how you joined the company. Tell me about what you look for in a good employee. Tell me about, what kind of person would fit here. Tell me about maybe the concerns the company might have in hiring somebody who has a lot of experience that they might worry about is set in their ways. Tell me about that. Let them talk about their situation, their experiences, their fears. Let them be heard. And when I've taught people over 40 to go into the ask, don't tell mode, that's what it's called, ask, don't tell. When they learn to ask questions instead of tell things about themselves, it goes so much more fluidly, right? So they might say, so tell me about the biggest problem that you're experiencing in the organization right now. And they kind of explain that, say, oh yeah, if it's okay, I can share with you. I've experienced something like that similar in my past. Not exact, but something kind of similar. So again, what you're not doing is being the I know everything. And we make that mistake all the time because we're thinking, oh my gosh, I knew nothing when I started out in my career. Now I have all this information. I'm so valuable to an organization, whereas before I really wasn't. I get it now. I thought it was valuable when I was younger, but I really wasn't. Now fast forward 20 years, and I know all this stuff. And so we want to go in there and do that. But we forget how it's coming across. And so it's much better to go into the ask, don't tell mode and allow them to do more of the talking. That's going to show the fact that you have the emotional intelligence to understand and read the room. And we actually have a video on this in case you're wondering. If you join Work It Daily, it is another video that I created about interviewing over 40 where I go over all of this. Okay? Wow. All right. I've got time for one more question today. But before I do, I just want to remind everybody, remember that every week we come here and do office hours so that you, the general public, can understand what it's like to be part of our membership program. So we are a career coaching platform. You go inside a nice private community. It's not public, where you can talk with other people on various subjects, and you can also talk one-on-one with our trained career coaches. And they give you the advice you need. They'll look at your resume and your cover letter and your LinkedIn profile, and they'll review your interview answers. It's all done through an online chat. So you've got 24/7 access. It's amazing. And I really encourage you to check it out. If you've never thought about this before, or if the idea of career coaching just seems exciting but sort of strange to you, we've made it extremely affordable. And today you get a coupon code, and it's only good for today. We turn it on and off because we only want to make it eligible for those of you that take the time to participate. So please check out the coupon code. It'll save you $10 a month off our subscriptions, which are already super low in comparison to career coaches. And you'll immediately get into the program and be able to work and get all your questions answered. All right? We are disrupting career coaching. There's no other place out there doing what we are doing. And we're really excited about that. And all you have to do is ask some of our members and they'll tell you how powerful this is, okay? All right, but with that in mind, I'm gonna go back to my last question. It's from Craig. Craig says, you mentioned making a connection with a company in your program videos. How do you find the connections of the company to reach out to? Very good question, Craig. So first of all, the most obvious place to go do that is LinkedIn. The problem with LinkedIn, in case any of you have ever tried this, is that when you have a free LinkedIn account, even when you have a paid LinkedIn account, it limits the amount of searches that you can do. So when you start searching for companies and you start searching for names on companies, LinkedIn's keeping track. And when you hit a certain level, it shuts you off. And the reason for that is because they have a very expensive program for recruiters that allows for unlimited searches. But a lot of recruiters were not buying the program and using the free version. So they set it up so that the free version caps out so that these recruiters couldn't do that and they'd have to pay for their program. So just so you all know, that's how that works. Now, here's my way around it. I have a hack for you. It's called recruitin.net. So it's the word recruitin.net. And this is a website you can go to and you can put in search terms. So you would put in the company name and the company location. And then you could even put in a job title. So you could put in recruiter or account manager or whatever you think that the type of person you're looking for is. And it will bring up all the LinkedIn profiles that match that. And then you can go through the LinkedIn profiles. This is going to be the list of employees at the company. And that doesn't penalize any of your searches in LinkedIn. And it gives you a list and it gives you the LinkedIn profiles and you click on them and you look at them. That's how you're going to research. And then after that, Craig, you're going to follow the process that we teach you because you're in there. You follow the videos on how you customize your connection requests and reach out to those recruiters and get them to engage with you. Which leads to something that I want to mention to everybody. In March, I am going to be doing a challenge. I mentioned it last or 2 weeks ago. We did a 28-day challenge in January called the Career Reinvention Challenge, which is available to anybody that's a member. So if you're looking to reinvent your career, you should join us and follow the challenge. But I'm going to be doing a new challenge in March for all our members called Make Recruiters Come to You. And this is going to be a 28-day challenge in March, which happens to be one of the busiest recruiting months of the year. And we're going to show you how to create that bucket list and get in touch with people at the companies on your list and how to get them to respond to you and build relationships with them. This is very exciting. I can't wait to do this with all of our members. And if you are not a member, you can't participate. So please check it out. You can use the discount code today. You can join us and be part of that challenge. You can get in now for the rest of the month and start working on your materials because when that Make Recruiter Challenge comes along, it is going to be awesome. Nothing like anything you've ever participated in before. and I'm really excited about it. So be sure to check that out. I'm going to have more information on that soon. Okay? All right. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by Office Hours today. I always love to be with all of you. We'll be back here again next week. So if you're still not convinced that you want to join us and get help whenever you need it, it's okay. You can come back next week. We're gonna show you the way. You're gonna become a member eventually, I promise. But in the meantime, have a great week, and I'll see you back here on YouTube next week, okay? All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.